Apple just crushed earnings. So why are budget buyers still holding back? And why is Apple's AI spending a fraction of big tech's? Amit Daryanani reveals how Apple's old pandemic buyers and aggressive carrier promotions fuel double-digit sales growth.
Features here, it's the very simple reality that you had a very big iPhone purchasing cohort in 2020, 2021, kind of the pandemic years. And, as these phones are 4 or 5 years old, they end up in a natural upgrade cadence. I'd say that alone is going to provide some really good momentum for iPhone 17. You're probably adding some more tailwinds to it with the fact that in North America, for example, carrier promotions are much more aggressive today than they were last year. So that's certainly making it a little bit cheaper and easier for folks in the US to buy their phones versus before. And then iPhone Air, I think, in selective regions is doing well. But I think the biggest thing, you just have a very old cohort from the pandemic days that are up for an upgrade right now.
Yeah, it's time. The folks are saying it's time. Are you not seeing, or did Apple not see any sort of trepidation, especially from maybe more budget-minded customers?
You know what? The strength they had, in fairness, was very broad-based. Now, typically the place where you see discretionary spend pull back a little bit at Apple more than anywhere else is on the wearable side. And so over there, I would say, while iPhones grew double digits, wearables were flattish for the most part, right? So I do think if you're seeing pockets of weakness, the logic really would be you still will buy an iPhone because you need it, but perhaps you will defer the purchase of an AirPod or Apple Watch a bit further. So I think you've seen a little bit in wearables, but not on the phone itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. iPhones are not discretionary. They're essential and sort of core consumer spending where new AirPods or an iWatch are. Okay, the impressive guidance, sales up 10 to 12% in the December quarter, that's really attention-getting in spite of also attention-getting tariffs. They got some good news this week that Trump said he would cut in half the 20% fentanyl-related tariffs that would affect Apple. How has Apple been able to navigate the tariff impact?
Yeah, so just the tariff numbers. 1.1 billion tariff impact in the September quarter. The fact that it's getting cut in half, 20% going to 10 on the fentanyl side, will actually help Apple, right? Now, it happened on November 1, so the lag is a little bit more there, but you're cutting that rate in half. One of the big things Apple has done is they've shifted a fair amount of US-bound capacity to other regions. So India for iPhones, Vietnam for accessories or wearables, if you may. So they're trying to move production the best they can so they can meet a majority, if not all, a vast majority of demand in the U.S. from India and Vietnam right now.
When we look at the investment in AI, Apple announced $1.5 billion in the December quarter. It is a mere fraction of what the other big names in the space are spending. Why? Why are they so restrained?
Yeah, part of this is I think Apple fundamentally believes, and I think that they're right on this view, which is, AI is not an existential threat to Apple the way it is to an Amazon or Google or Meta or someone else. So they can afford to be a bit more thoughtful about it. Now, they are upping, and one of the negatives on this call, I would say, was their OPEX is going up by about $2.5 billion in December as they need to start investing in providing more AI-centric solutions and services to customers. And so I think they will try to do things like that, where how can they make AI as a source of application and service to customers? But it's not the existential threat that needs them to go invest $70, $80 billion in buying GPUs the way some of the other big cap tech companies have to.